excuses. Stop it, stop it. Quitting was never an option. Exhausted, exhausted. This passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it.
I had to switch up the flow, show you the way that it go. God is good, but this life is hard. But it gets better when you grind it smart. I'm just really trying to leave a mark. We tired of being who they say we are. That's the baton, we gon' take it far. Always been real, we don't fake it all. Tired of 9 to 5, just make enough to survive. Only living on the weekends. You really thinking that's why I'm alive? Busting out the scenes, time to live my dreams, do the things deep inside of me. This life, it continues with fighting me, but I don't have quitting inside of me.
It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, so true, so true. So knowledgeable you are as you state that out loud. Anyways, how are you doing today? This lovely Wednesday, also known as Hump Day to some. It's September the 9th of 2022. Day 250th of the year, and only 115 days left to go. Yeah, that's it. 115, and that's going to be calling it. We're going to be calling it right there. 115. You know, I tend to sing that song, We Are 138, but currently we are 115. Yeah. It's almost on the other side of the things that are going on. Anyways, we are broadcasting live from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida. So that's what we're doing. We're coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and we are also hanging out with our friends and colleagues at that other place.
You're being infiltrated. Radio Big.
Yep, good old Radio Big.FM, now being distributed on iHeartRadio. So there you go. Very exciting times over there in regards of what's getting done on that side of the house. So we got a little time to hang out and a lot of stuff to cover because that seems to be the trends of what we do. And talking about trends, well, let's talk about those.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, with that being said, let's talk about it, because that's what we do around here. In honor of National Read a Book Day, Twitter users shared their favorite series were standalone books. What made your list? Would love to know. I guess if I have to talk about it, I will still stick with My Big Toe and the Exegesis of Philip K. Dick. So there you go. What else do you have? Let's see. Harry Styles landed on Twitter's top 10 trends on Tuesday. Some spitty itty issues supposedly were going on right there. Let's see. Mashup 2 bands was trending yesterday as tweets included Dire Straits and Chris Ray with Dire Rye, Stray Cat Stevens, Moody Blues Brothers, and Men at Work Without Hats. So that was all going on in the song mashup yesterday, if you were taking a look around at some of the things that were going on there. Also, Twitter users' jaw dropped in reaction of Jerry Seinfeld's new modeling gig. So there you go. So I guess if you were big time into like some of the stuff that is related to celebrities, it was a big day for you yesterday on Twitter in doing all the fun stuff over there. So that's something to think about and talk about, I guess, to some extent as we are hanging out on this lovely Wednesday. Anyways, a lot of stuff that I need to cover today. If you want to interact with the show, it's easy. It's easy peasy, as some people like to say. The simplest way to do that, all you have to do is go to 98. My brain is already ahead of the curve. All you have to do is go to callinradio.com. That's callinradio.com. 988 is something entirely different, which we'll talk about at some point, just right now. Not right now. So all you have to do is go to callinradio.com, and that will take care of everything. Once you get there, it will have all the options on how you're able to interact if you're so inclined to do so. So there you go, some stuff going on right there. If you're not familiar with the show, what we do here is we talk about safety in the news and safety. Some people don't like it. Some people do. Some people go, why does it take so long to get the safety part? Well, there's always reasons behind on how we set that up, and then we kind of go from there. That's just kind of the way that we have laid it out. We've laid it on the line, if one may say so. So there you go. With that being said, we do bring in some professional broadcasters that will come in and talk about the things that are going on inside of the world of the news. And then I come back and talk to you a little bit more about the things that I believe are going on inside of that same world. Anyways, with that being said, let's do this. Let's bring in the pro broadcasters and let them tell us what exactly is going on.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. A document describing a foreign government's nuclear capabilities was among the papers found by FBI agents at Donald Trump's Florida home. The Washington Post says the FBI also sees documents with details of top-secret U.S. operations, one so closely guarded that many senior national security officials were kept in the dark about them. The FBI recovered more than 300 classified documents from Mar-a-Lago this year. The White House says President Biden believes Republicans voting against Medicare and other benefits is an extreme agenda.
The majority of Americans support Medicare, support Social Security, support our democracy, and want to protect our democracy, want to protect our freedom, want to protect our rights.
Speaking to reporters, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says Biden is speaking about lawmakers when he speaks about MAGA Republicans and not everyday voters. Jean-Pierre said the unwillingness to speak out against violence related to politics is a red flag, and that aspect needs to be eliminated. Jean-Pierre said most Americans agree extremism is bad for the country and reiterated Biden is focused on politicians when speaking about MAGA Republicans. Trump-endorsed candidate Jeff Deal will face off against Democrat Maura Healey in the Massachusetts governor's race. Healey could become the state's first elected woman governor and the first openly lesbian governor if she were to win. The Department of Health and Human Services is awarding an almost $20 million contract to help in the response to the monkeypox outbreak. Ryan Shook reports.
The contract will allow AmerisourceBergen to expand distributions of treatments and vaccines to help fight against monkeypox. The CDC says over 18,000 cases have been confirmed in the U.S. so far. I'm Brian Shook.
And an American tourist is dead after a shark attack in the Bahamas. The unidentified woman was snorkeling when the incident happened on Tuesday. It's believed to be the first recorded shark attack in the Bahamas since 2018. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
We are now video streaming the Rated R Safety Show. I don't know why our host has a face for radio. Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Ukraine's welcomed calls from the UN's nuclear agency to establish a safety zone around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. 7 people have died in South Korea after being trapped in a flooded underground car park. New UK Prime Minister Liz Truss is in her first full day in the job, finalising details of an energy support plan, and a group of French senators is in Taiwan for the latest visit to the island by a Western delegation.
Bringing you information you never knew you cared about. Rated R Safety Show.
President Biden says his administration has passed legislation so far over his term that benefits everyday Americans in many ways.
Democracy can deliver for the people, and there's a foundation of a kind of strong, forward-looking economy that we want to continue to build.
Speaking at a cabinet meeting at the White House, Biden said now it's up to him and his cabinet members to establish everything that was passed through Congress. The president touted bringing jobs back to the U.S. that had been overseas for years and creating new union-based jobs throughout the country. Biden added he thinks America is leading the race when it comes to future innovation. The family of a kidnapped Tennessee teacher is breaking their silence after the woman's body was discovered. In a statement, the family of Eliza Fletcher says we are heartbroken and devastated by this senseless loss. Memphis police said on Tuesday that Fletcher's body was found this week and that a suspect is under arrest, facing first-degree murder charges. The 34-year-old mother of two was abducted Friday while jogging near the University of Memphis. Over 1,000 children are confirmed to have been killed or injured in Ukraine since Russia invaded more than 6 months ago. Lisa Taylor fills us in.
That's according to Save the Children. The humanitarian organization also reports that an average of 5 children are killed or injured in the country each day. The UN has said the number of civilian casualties is likely considerably higher than what's being reported. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Apple is expected to reveal the new iPhone 14 today. The new smartphone is expected to increase in size but take on a slimmer look. It's unknown what the price point will be. Apple is also expected to reveal new models of the popular Apple Watch at today's event in Cupertino, which is set for 10 a.m. Pacific and will be live streamed on Apple's website. And the National Hurricane Center is issuing advisories on Hurricane K, located a few hundred miles southwest of the southern tip of the Baja California Peninsula. The hurricane is headed north and is expected to bring strong winds and heavy rains to portions of the peninsula later this morning. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show. Self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
What happened to Philip K. Dick from February to March 1974 would change him forever. For the next 8 years, he attempted to explain in writing his experience of the entire universe transformed into information. Enter the letters, dreams, and journal entries of the mind behind Blade Runner and A Scanner Darkly. Learn the genesis of the Valis trilogy and the stories behind other classic Dick novels. Houghton Mifflin Harcourt is proud to present The Exegesis of Philip K. Dick, edited by Pamela Jackson and Jonathan Lethem. Experience the ultimate quest into a cosmic mystery like no other. Touch genius.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Well, you might be like me and heard all these terms and we're not 100% sure on what they meant. Things as mining, blockchain, the Internet of Things. Well, I will tell you, we here at Safety FM have partnered up with a company that will explain this to you and will also have conversations to inform you on how you might have the potential of making passive income by being involved with this. All you need to do is go to safetyfm.com/iHub. They'll discuss blockchain. What exactly is mining? What is cryptocurrency? And what is the Internet of Things? To find out more information, go to safetyfm.com/iHub. That's safetyfm.com/iHub. And don't forget to mention that Jay Allen sent you.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, there you go. We are still hanging out on this lovely Wednesday. It is currently 15 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are getting to do all the fun stuff that we do around here. Anyways, with that being said, let's get into what is going on inside of the world real quick, because that's always important. So taking it from the very top of the hit list, here we go. Lawyers for Elon Musk and Twitter faced off in court on Tuesday during preliminary hearings about the forthcoming trial over whether or not to enforce Musk's purchase of the platform. In particular, Musk wants to include the whistleblower complaint from last month made by Twitter former's head of security about social media platform practices and bot count. If Twitter's lying about the security issues, Musk camp contends that the company has breached provisions for its tentative merger agreement. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Apparently, this will be an ongoing story. And then at the same point, my question becomes, wasn't he going to create his own platform? So do you think if that's still in the works in the background, or is that just one of those things that is non-existent?
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so take a listen to this. The Moderna and COVID shots are certainly, according to this report, not vaccines, certainly not how we've understood vaccines to function for decades. Now the proof is right in front of us. New guidelines from the federal government say that new shots will be required every year alongside flu shots and with adapted formulas to attack whatever strain is out there now. So worth remember, the same federal officials that promised us in 2021 that getting the shots meant that you wouldn't get COVID. That's they were so good and so safe, so effective. Only only certain people would not want to take them. Well, as the data has changed, so did the narrative, but without contradiction. And now without acknowledgement of their misstep, along with the way that even more people lost their jobs for not getting the shots. So here's the question. How do you look at vaccines? Do you look at vaccines as something that was needing to be done yearly? I mean, I don't know. This is according to the reporter that turned this one over. It becomes an interesting question, that is for sure, on how that's going to work. Because I guess it's going to be a lot more similar to the flu shot, because it's not the flu vaccine. So what do we call this at this point? Is it still the same thing, or has the narrative changed to some extent while we are talking? I mean, who knows anymore, right? Anyways, let's get into some other stuff. Vape manufacturer Juul Labs will shell out $438.5 million to settle the lawsuit leveled by multiple states accusing the company of selling and marketing to underage consumers. A lengthy investigation suggests that Juul did not properly identify the ages of the online buyers who were able to get their hands on nicotine-laced products with online with fake ID. So hold on. How do you do the fake ID thing online? Like, seriously, I want to have a better understanding of it. Because what do you have to provide? Because here's my first thing. If you're on a website that's requiring you to provide your ID, doesn't that make you raise some questions right away? I mean, I would have some doubts about what I want to do, because automatically I'm starting to think, hold on, what the hell's going on here? I mean, I'm just saying. Like, I've been to a couple of websites that I can think of off the top of my head that asked for my ID, and I was like, this is just way too weird, and I decided to proceed on with my life and not do anything with them. So there you go. Anyways, listen to this. Pornhub isn't thrilled about getting their account suspended on Instagram. Yeah, the National Center of Sexual Exploration has claimed credit for successfully lobbying Instagram, owned by Meta, which owns Facebook too, to deplatform Pornhub's accounts, citing concern about adult sites made money off of child porn and striked human trafficking laws. Now, Pornhub is accusing we'll say the National Center of Sexual Exploration for making misleading statements about the role in getting the porn site booted off of social medias. Reps for the site says that their accounts was just temporarily disabled and pointed to Instagram's overly cautious censoring of adult industry. So here's my question. Did Instagram Pornhub's Instagram account have a lot of followers? Because I don't know. That just does not seem like the place that you would go to. I mean, I'm just saying.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so there you go. About 1,400 people live in Moroni, Utah, and the police chief there is the only officer in town. Take a listen to this. Robert Hill used to have the job until he says that he was fired because he gave a traffic ticket to a small-town mayor's son. Hill has filed a suit against wrongful termination, and he says in January of this year, the mayor and the city officials praised his job performance and said that he'd soon be eligible for a raise or even add another officer for the small department. But when he pulled over an erratic driver making dangerous turns in February, the man behind the wheel turned out to be the son of the mayor. Hill tells Salt Lake Tribune that I didn't know who he was, but he made it very clear who he was, and made it clear that he was better, that he better not be getting a ticket. Sounds like he was saying, I'm better than you and you know it. The very next day, Hill was put on administration leave by the mayor and was outright fired days later. By the way, the lone police chief office in Moroni has since been empty. The city has instead outsourced the patrol to St. Petey County Sheriff Office for $125,000 a year, which gets 5 hours of coverage a day. Hold on. So you only have somebody from the police department there 5 hours a day. So what happens in the other 19? Because automatically my brain goes to places it probably should not go to. That's just kind of the way that I think. I start thinking automatically of The Purge, which is probably a terrible thing to say at this early morning hour, 22 minutes past the top of the hour, just in case. So, anyways, I guess, the saving grace, like always, we probably need to bring John Smalls inside of here and let him tell us about what's going on inside of the Market Beat.
Here's your Market Beat Minute for Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. Equity markets started a holiday-shortened week on a cautious note. The S&P 500 fell 0.4% at the close of the session, following a stronger-than-expected ISM service figure. That came in not only better than expected, but advanced from the previous month, suggesting economic activity accelerated in the service sector. The takeaway from the report, however, is that economic activity is strong and inflationary, and therefore supports the idea of aggressive FOMC interest rate actions. In regards to the outlook for interest rate hikes, the CME's FedWatch tool strengthened to show a 75% chance for a 75 basis point hike at the next meeting in a couple of weeks. The remainder of the week could be iffy for the market due to a lack of news on both the economic and earnings front. As it is, the S&P 500 is poised for another drop and could easily retest the 3660 level by the end of the month. You can get the inside track in your inbox at marketbeatminute.com.
Okay, thank you, John Smalls, for that information right there. Always a good time when you are hanging out and letting us know exactly what is going on. Here's some of the information that we were able to locate. The Dow lost about 173 points to close at 31,145 on Tuesday. The S&P lost about 16 points to close at 3,908, while the Nasdaq lost about 85 points to close at 11,544. West Texas Intermediate slid to $86 a barrel on Tuesday. Brent crude was down to $93, and the national average price of a gallon of gas still remained at $3.78 on Tuesday. Bitcoin is taking a tumble, losing about $880 in value and trading at $19,000. It's interesting because a few weeks ago, it seemed like it was staying around that 23,500 point. and now it has tumbled down. Anyways, yesterday, 2,598 flights were delayed within, into, and out of the United States. On Tuesday, and about 75 cancellations, which goes back to tell us that it seems like if you're going to travel, Tuesday might be the day to do so, because it seems to be some limiting factors there on some of the things that take place. Anyways, with that being said, let's talk a little bit more about some other things going on inside of the world, and let's talk right now about the top fiction and nonfiction books currently on the New York Times bestsellers list. So if we're taking it in from the number 5 spot according to the fiction category, let's go from there. Soul Taken. And number 4, Love on the Brain. Hey now. At number 3, Where the Crawdads Sing. At number 2, Verity. And then number 1, It Ends With Us. If we were taking a look at the other side of the house, where the nonfiction category, according to the New York Times bestsellers list, it goes like this. At number 5, Path Lit by Lightning. Sounds dangerous. At number 4, Diane, William, and Harry. At number 3, The Body Keeps the Score. At number 2, Breaking History. And at the number 1 spot, again, this has to be a controversial title. I can only imagine that that's the case, of I'm Glad My Mom Died. Yeah, that's the title. I mean, that's the title of the book. I mean, how do you go back into your parents' home, especially if they're still alive? And this is kind of like it does say that it says that it's a nonfiction story, so I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely an interesting title. There you go. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about some things going on inside of this world out there that are going on real quick. Let's take it from the very top here. The National Hurricane Center is issuing advisory on Hurricane K. Trey Thomas has more information.
K is located a few hundred miles southwest of the southern tip of the Baja California Peninsula. The hurricane is heading north, potentially bringing heavy rain this weekend to Southern California. Experts say the area needs rain, but too much too quickly could bring flooding. I'm Trey Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Trey Thomas, for that information right there on what is going on. Let's talk real quick about some other things going on. A record-setting heat wave in California is forcing officials to upgrade the energy emergency alert level. Listen to what Trey Thomas has to say.
It was increased to the highest level of 3, which is when rolling blackouts could be ordered. The blistering heat is putting a strain on the state's power grid, and residents are being urged to limit their electricity use. The Golden State has been hit with triple-digit temperatures in recent days, hovering around 115 degrees in areas around Los Angeles and Sacramento. I'm Trey Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Trey, for that information as well. So take a listen to this. California is facing high risk of rolling blackouts, and it marks a full week of extreme heat wave. California Independent System Operator CEO Elliot Manzar is calling for a major energy reduction.
Don't use any more power than is absolutely necessary, and you'll enhance our ability to continue moving through this historic heat wave without major disruptions.
Okay, at this point, at 6 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon or evening, depending on how you look at it, managers of the state power grid issued Energy Emergency Alert 3, which we just talked about, urging maximum conservation as electricity demand nears record highs. Alerts were sent to cell phones statewide using people to conserve energy immediately. Today, there will be another statewide flex alert in place between 4 and 9 p.m. So here's my question. And let's talk about this because this seems to be kind of one of the trends. If you have an electric car, this is an electric car question, of course. What do you do? Is that considered under the emergency use portion? I mean, I'm just asking the question because it's going to become extremely interesting as some of these people bring this information up later on. So how do you take a look at it? Do you go, yes, you can have that for emergency use, or you can't? It's going to be an interesting one as we are talking. Anyways, take a listen to this coming out of Detroit. Leaders in Detroit are talking about how to make the area safer. Police Chief James White says that 15 mass shootings happened nationwide over Labor Day weekend.
We also see weapons being sold on the streets. We're starting to see an uptick in ghost guns being made, but we're going to make sure that these folks who should not have possession of weapons don't have possession of weapons. And if they do, we're going to lock them up.
Okay, Lieutenant Governor Garland says the state has taken action to escalate checks on parolees and probationers convicted of gun crimes, arresting 37 people and seizing 25 guns. White says that the police department remains focused on illegal weapons. Lieutenant Governor says that the state has taken action to escalate checks on the parolees. Take a listen.
Now, these specific checks have led to at least 37 arrests and pulling at least 25 illegal guns off of the street.
So some interesting times going on right there as we are talking a little bit more about good old Michigan. Let's go into this real quick. Over 44 people have signed a petition calling for better security near the campus of Western Michigan University after 2 students have been killed in the past year when they were hit by cars. Craig and Colleen Broderick, daughters of Bailey, was killed last November walking across the Fraternity Village Drive, and both have signed the petition calling for the crosswalk and traffic lights and more.
It's still really tough. Every day I struggle not to cry. It's just, it hasn't been easy. And then to hear that this other girl was killed, that really is devastating.
Callie Cassingberg was killed by a hit and run last month at the Fraternity Village Drive. City traffic engineers Dennis Randolph says they're already working on some improvement. Kalamazoo traffic engineer Dennis says that they are looking to making changes near WMU campus.
2 to 3 mile an hour reduction on the average speed. And people might say, well, that's nothing. But when it comes to somebody being hit, that can increase your chances of surviving a hit.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'll kind of tell you some of the ones that I've seen better engineered. If you've ever been down to downtown St. Petersburg in Florida, they have the crosswalks that when you're going to cross, you hit a button, it flashes the lights across the crosswalk. That way people know that you're coming across, and it's all the way through the crosswalk. Downtown St. Pete has that set up extremely well, and it's probably some of the better engineered crosswalks that I have seen around and during my time. That is for sure. Anyways, with that being said, it is currently 31 minutes past the top of the hour, so let's do that thing that we normally do right around here.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
So let's talk about the phenomenal world that we live in and the great things that we get to interact with. Now, let's be realistic for a moment. I know that we talk all the time about the world of safety. We talk about all the little different aspects of things that go on inside of the workforce, but sometimes we have to take a look at some other things. We have to take a look at some things that are going on, some levels of our job of safety that we don't realize that it kind of still involves us to an extent. So let me get into what's going on here. I want you to visualize right now your best worker inside of your organization. And that could be best worker however you deem that. It could be production. It could be the best operator. It could be whatever you deem the best worker inside of your organization. And matter of fact, you can even be saying, hey, that best worker inside of the whole organization, that's me, meaning you, not me. So I get it. So I want you to think about this for a moment. Let's say, for instance, you have, senior level management. Okay, cool. Think about that for a second. So think about your best worker, and we'll talk about, let's use the example of 3 SVPs. And they get into an altercation with your best worker inside of your organization. So 3 of your, essentially senior vice presidents. So we're talking about essentially the people that kind of help run the joint. Get into a physical altercation with your best worker. What do you do? How do you handle the scenario? And listen, I know that this is going to get into one of those really sticky areas, but sometimes we tend to forget that we do assist heavily with the HR department. And some people will go, well, this is a human resource thing, so this is why I'm bringing it up. So what do you do in this case? Because it gets to the point sometimes that what do you start taking a look at? Because and of course, I'm giving you very generic information, But I'm trying to give different aspects of scenarios that can occur. And when you start running into issues like this, who do you stand by? Especially when you start doing the investigation. So what is the immediate response? You know there was an altercation. You know you have 3 SVPs that were involved. You know that your most productive person or your best employee, team member, however you want to take a look at it, was involved as well. How do you move forward? How do you do the things? Like, what is the first step? So you already know that there has to be an investigation done because that's just kind of the way that it works. But from that particular point, what do you do? Do you suspend the people that were there? Because now we're talking about suspending 4 team members. We're talking about suspending 4 employees as you're doing this investigation. And what caused it to be so hot and heated that there was a physical altercation? Now, I'll tell you, I have worked at an organization many years ago, many years ago, that really had their stuff together. And they said they had this whole thing that if there was any physical altercation, boom, you were both suspended immediately, regardless of who was at fault. Some people liked that idea, some people didn't, but we're talking late 90s, so that tells you how old I am at that point. So it's just interesting on taking a look around on some of the things that sometimes the safety department gets involved with, because we think about, okay, well, knowing regulations, knowing different things that are going on, but we forget that there's sometimes that there are human emotions involved in the work that we do day in and day out, and how people react differently, and it's all depending on how you're mentally mature. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I know that people will have verbal altercations with others from time to time, and those things happen. But when you start getting into a physical, violent format of interacting with someone, especially at a job, and I'm not talking about like if you're fighting MMA, because that's a different story, because you have or boxing, you've definitely taken a different career path there. But you have to start thinking about this and going, okay, so why is this occurring? Why is this happening? And that's the questions that you have to do during portion of the investigation. And it's going to be a long one. It's not going to be one of these things that you're going to go into an investigation and it's going to be healed immediately. And then here's the other question. I have seen investigation was when it comes to fights and things along those lines where one party says I'm at fault and they quit. The question becomes then, how do you hold the other people accountable if there was a physical altercation? See, there's a lot of questions that come up with this. There's a lot of questions that you have to almost take a dive into as this subject matter comes up. Now, when you think about the world of safety, do you ever think about violence? I was having a conversation about a month or 2 ago with someone where they were saying that people inside of this construction site were throwing rocks to different color hard hats. And depending if you've ever been on a construction site, you know that the different color hard hats mean something as your organization has set that up. So it's an interesting thing to think about, but how is it handled? And here's the funny part. I can sit here and say what I would do, but I would imagine that whatever you would do would be different than what I would do, and not saying one is right and one is wrong. But it's sometimes you have to think about the human factor or the human element about these things on what would occur. That is something to think about for sure today as we are having this lovely conversation.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
Pop quiz hot shot. During a heat wave, what's more important, air conditioning or air guitar?
Is it air conditioning?
Air guitar. The answer is always air guitar.
The WorkWise Summit is an interactive 2-day gathering that will bring like-hearted leaders together like never before as we discuss ways to better align HR, safety, and operations around one common goal: creating the future of work together. Day 1 will focus on self-performance with talks with leading experts on how to live and lead at our best. Day 2 will focus on organizational performance with discussions on what we can do together to break down silos and foster action. The Work Summit will take place at Coker Tire Museum in Chattanooga, Tennessee on Thursday, September the 22nd and Friday, September the 23rd. For more information, go to workzbe.com/Y Summits. That's WORKZBE.com Y Summit.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/one small step, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/one small step. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
So do you feel like you're missing out on what everyone is starting to do now, that live streaming thing, and you don't know where to start or what to do? I have the resource and the information to provide to you in regards on how you can stream onto 40 social media platforms all at one time. Yes, that's 40 social media platforms all at one time. All you'll need to do is go to safetyfm.com/one. That's safetyfm.com/one. That's ONE. So just in case, and you'll be able to start live streaming just like you're hearing people starting to do right now, up to 40 social media platforms.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Taking me sowing seeds, a growing tree, y'all get a load of me. Yeah, don't let them slow on me. I get the bag like a grocery. I'm on my grind like I'm supposed to be. And I do not care if you notice me. Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
Let's see, you are still listening to the Rated R Safety Show. It is currently 43 minutes past the top of the hour as we are still hanging out on this lovely Wednesday. Yeah, this one's called Boxes by Wes Harris. The song's readily available on Spotify and iTunes.
Beating on my chest, trying to get my rest. Watch me while I flex. Every win is a blessing, and every end.
Thank you to good old Wes Harris for allowing us to play this one here on the Rated R Safety Show.
I see the blessings right beside me. They're just as important and likely.
You know, I'm all about trying to show these new artists out there, or these artists that are out there with some of their new jams.
I cannot fit in the boxes.
Or some of the jams that I discovered later in life.
It was never an option. Exhausted. This passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it.
Okay, so let's get into it real quick because, you know, we have little time and things to do. That's the way that it goes as we are talking, moving, and grooving. Anyways, real quick, before I forget, let me tell you the most important thing that I will tell you at any point in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They can help you prevent suicide. The Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress. Prevention and crisis resources for you and loved ones, and best practices for professionals in the United States. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to 988lifeline.org. That's 988lifeline.org. Or you can actually call 988 from your cell phone or any other phone that you have. Or you can also text the word TALK to 988, and that will get everything moving. Listen, there are times in life that things become difficult and you need someone to talk to. And they can sit there and help you out with anything that you have going on. That is the great thing about the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Listen, just because you think that it might not be a crisis, it could be. And there are professionals that are out there that are ready to help you at any point. So keep that in mind as we are talking, moving, and all that fun stuff as we are having this discussion. Do not make this on one of these conversations that you feel like you cannot have with people, because you still can. So keep that in mind. Let's get into some news real quick as we are, 46 minutes past the top of the hour. Eating snacks, going for a walk, and scrolling through social media, no matter how you spend them micro breaks of 10 minutes or less during your work, boosts energy levels, according to a new research by scientists in Romania. Their study finds that micro breaks boost an employee's vigor and decreases their fatigue throughout the day. The researchers say that their findings show that micro breaks are potentially useful strategies to help well-being and inside of the workplace. And a heavy workload and long shifts become increasingly common. A break up to 10 minutes was found to decrease the risk of mistakes and refocus of the worker's attention on a job at hand. It is also determined that taking longer breaks actually increase performance as well as energy levels. So what do you think about that? I remember I used to have an app that you would set on a timer, and after every 50 minutes, the thing would go off for you to take a 10-minute break. So, which is a good reason here that, as any suggest, that we just heard home and start again tomorrow. Why don't we just do that? Maybe, instead of doing the 50-minute, we just take an hour and then go from there. Fortunately, working from home, I'm forced to take micro breaks throughout the day because my router is always crapping out. So maybe that's the other way to take a look at it. You know, it's just interesting on some of the things that we can do. Like, there was a whole questionnaire that I was going over last week that was talking about, would you prefer to work 5 8-hour shifts during the week or 4 10-hour shifts and then have a shorter work week? And it was amazing to see the amount of people that would prefer to do the 4 days and the 10 hours. And I think I get it. I mean, I really do. In regards of, of the work that's being done. I mean, it makes sense to me. So there you go. Anyways, let's talk real quick about a viral app. Scientists have come up with a new app that can detect COVID-19 in your voice. Yeah, you heard me there. Dutch researchers say that an AI-powered technology is easier to use and is more precise than the lateral flow test. The app is downloaded on the user's phones. The person then used the recorded some respiration sounds, including coughing, breathing, and deeply through their mouth and reading a short sentence 3 times. A voice technique called Mail Spectacrum analyzes its use and identifies the different voice features like loudness, power, and variation. It takes less than a minute to find the positive cases and gives an accurate result of 89% of the time. Negative cases are correctly diagnosed 83% of the time. And the new app could be used to detect cases of COVID before a big gathering such as concerts and sports events. And it could be used in poorer countries where PCR tests are pricey to buy and hard to distribute. So let me make sure that I understand this. So before I go to a sporting event or a concert, this would be an option to use. So would that be me doing it, or would that be the person that's trying to let me in at the concert or the sporting event? Because I think that could make some long wait times if you really think about that. It said especially it's effective on your voice if it heard you saying I've got COVID. Okay, just kidding. There's no app for that. So there you go. Just some things to think about as we are talking on this lovely Wednesday.
Warning. Listening to other radio stations could cause testicle shrinkage.
I'm talking truth.
Okay, with that being said, for sure, maybe it's time to bring in some John Smalls and let him tell us about what's going on with the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Zach. Abraham Lincoln said, "I'm a slow walker, but I never walk backwards." I love that. For some reason, this quote made me think of a conversation I had last week. My wife and I have our home in quite a disarray with a renovation we're doing. It seems like this has taken forever, but my friend Chris stopped by, and he was there a few weeks ago too. He mentioned how much had been done and how quickly we get things done. I was a little embarrassed because I thought it was taking us forever to get things done. I'm not going to lie, that comment also made us feel pretty darn good. Thanks, Chris. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by AlessaMorgan.com. When it comes to meditation, unless you have a lot of experience, it is almost inevitable that at some point during meditation, your concentration and focus will drift away, and you may find yourself back with your thoughts. For a lot of people, this means that the meditation has failed. However, rewiring of circuits for focus by way of neuroplasticity happens through refocusing. Peer-reviewed studies from the New York University show that a 13-minute per day focus and refocus meditation significantly improves concentration. The key to a successful practice is this. It's not about focus, it's about refocus. This means that every time your mind drifts, it's an opportunity to refocus and to build up the circuits for concentration and improved attention. For more information on wellness, check out AlessaMorgan.com.
If you ever wish that Facebook had a suck it button, you suck! This rock block is for you. Radio.
Here is another bit for our competitors to copy. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, there you go. 52 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Wednesday. Yeah, so we still got some time to do some stuff, so let's do this real quick as we are talking. Let's take a look real quick. Let's talk about this real quick. There is new information about some of the documents taken from last month's raid of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resident. Rory O'Neill has more info.
A document describing a foreign government's nuclear capabilities was among the papers found by FBI agents, according to the Washington Post. Agents also seized documents with details of top-secret U.S. operations so closely guarded, many senior national security officials didn't know about them. On Monday, a judge suspended the DOJ investigation so that a special master could review the documents seized from Mar-a-Lago. I'm Rory O'Neill.
Okay, thank you, Roy O'Neill, for that information right there. Take a listen to this. Hillary Clinton's announcing that she'll never run for president again. Listen to what Mark Mayfield has to say.
On Tuesday, the former Secretary of State says she's going to do everything she can to make sure that we have a president who respects our democracy and upholds our institutions. She also called on moderate Republicans to stand up against Donald Trump, who's been teasing a 2024 run for the office. Clinton went on to say she would endorse President Biden if he runs for re-election in 24, saying he would be the person most likely to win. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, so there you go. Some information right there that's going on. Take a listen to this. The Biden administration awards $20 million to expand monkeypox response. The Department of Health and Human Services is awarding an almost $20 million contract to help in response of the monkeypox. Take a listen to what Brian Shook has to say.
The contract will allow AmerisourceBergen to expand distributions of treatments and vaccines to help fight against monkeypox. The CDC says over 18,000 cases have been confirmed in the U.S. so far. I'm Brian Shook.
Okay, thank you, Brian, for that information right there. Take a listen to this going on real quick. Seattle teachers set to strike. It won't be the first day of school on Wednesday for Seattle public school students. Brian Shook has more info.
Instead, the Seattle Education Association announced they will be on the picket lines. 95% of the votes were in favor of authorizing a strike. It'll begin early Wednesday unless an agreement is reached before that time. SEA members are demanding better pay, manageable workloads, and more support for students. I'm Brian Shook.
Okay, take a listen to this one real quick as we are talking about some other information going on inside of the world. Did you take a listen to this? An Omicron-specific booster for young children is in development.
When you get people to get their primary vaccination, you give them the benefit of that initial broad coverage.
So that's according to White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci. A newly available updated vaccine can only be administered to children 12 years and older. White House COVID response coordinator says that the data will determine the timeline. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next little bit with that information right there. Anyways, let's take a look real quick at some things that happened back on this date. We take a look at 1996. Tupac Shakur is shot while hanging out at Suge's Night sunroof, and he would die 6 days later in the hospital. No one has initially been arrested in the shooting, but rapper Biggie was implicated. He would be shot and killed the following year. That happened back on this date in 1996. If you're looking at some birthdays for today, Jennifer Veal turns 31, Kevin Love 34, Evan Rachel Woods turns 35, Toby Jones, 56, and Gloria Gaynor turned 79 today. That's some birthdays for you if you're looking for those. If you are looking for a reason to celebrate, I have some of those for you. National Beer Lovers Day, National Neither Snow Nor Rain Day, National Grandma Moses Day, National Acorn Squash Day, and National Salami Day. There you go. If you want to enjoy some salami, you have the opportunity to do it and celebrate it as you're doing it all at the same time. So there you go. What else real quick? If you need a random joke for today, I got one for you. Laziness is nothing more than a habit of resting before you get tired. If you need something for the water cooler, no. If you need something for the phone starter, try this. What was your most horrifying back-to-school week experience? If you need something for the water cooler, try this. Question: 1 in 9 elementary school students say that they would love to be in charge of this when they grow up. What is it? A zoo. Yeah, they're looking to be in charge of a zoo. Anyways, thank you for hanging out with me on this lovely Wednesday as we get to hang out and do all the fun stuff that we get to do around here. We could not do this show without you, the most important part, and that is the listener. Yes, that is on either side, the Radio Big side or the Safety FM side. Now, for the next couple of hours, I'll be going over to Safety FM. I'll be going over to RadioBig.fm if you want to come and hang out and do the stuff that we get to do over there. We get to do some music and all that kind of fun stuff. So we try to make it a fun time together. So you're more than welcome to coming across over there and doing that if you're so inclined to do so. If not, you can hang out here on Safety FM and we'll take care of you inside of the world of safety, and that will be another thing that we can do. Anyways, if I can leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this. Most of us are just about as happy as we make our minds to be. think about the power of the mind there. Boy, can it take you places that you never expected. Anyways, with that being said, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
I get the bag like a grocery. I'm on my grind like I'm supposed to be. And I do not care if you notice me. Boxes, acting like fit in the boxes. Stop it. Quitting was never an option. Exhausted. This passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it. This isn't a robbery. Hands in the sky if you got a dream. Learn nothing was blocking me. I was the problem, the only one stopping me. I didn't like it, I had to refocus. Now I'm devoted, I know where I'm going, controlling emotions. I'm on